Watching the potential for a high-impact snow and ice event unfolding this week. Hi, everybody. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice, keeping you up to date on what's happening right here. Cold air in place the rest of the week, meeting up with some Gulf moisture that's going to come streaming up. That could lead to snow and, unfortunately, ice across many areas. And, unfortunately, this looks like it could be a high-impact system for many across the South, including the I-85 corridor from Greenville to Spartanburg to Atlanta to Charlotte. If you're new to this channel, please consider following whatever page you're watching here on WIFF4 or one of my pages here. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And please, if you will, let me know where you're watching from. That is a key factor that lets me help hone in my forecast a little bit more specific to where you're watching from. First things first, we are about to get cold, if you're not already, across a good bit of the United States. And that's why we've been watching very closely what's coming in. And you can see winter storm warnings up toward the Midwest. It has been a significant snow event for parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, into the mountains of North Carolina. Now comes the possibility of round two that we need to keep a close eye on. And this time frame would be Sunday, or I should say Thursday, Friday. You can see highlighted here the chance for that ice and snow equivalent continuing to rise, and that 30 to 50% chance now across Greenville, Spartanburg, Atlanta, up through the mountains. This is really a time-based threat. My goal is just to show you how it changes each day, and it is going up, and the threat is going higher. So here's how things unfold. We have cold air in place across a good bit of the United States over the next several days, with lows in the 20s and teens, with highs in the 30s in most locations. So what happens this week is we got moisture streaming in from the Pacific and the Gulf with this low pressure system. Snow breaks out in Texas and the parts of Oklahoma, back through Arkansas. Could be a big time ice and snow event back that way. Then it streams toward the east. This would be Friday morning at 7 a.m. We've got snow knocking on the door of Atlanta Metro, moving into the upstate of South Carolina. This would be 10 a.m. We've got snow in Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. How strong is this low pressure down here, and where does it track? If it tracks like this, brings in some warmer air. So it would probably be a little bit of a wintry mix of snow and ice across many areas. If it tracks somewhere down here in a traditional Miller A type track, that would be a classic big time snow for many. And the models are hinting that that could be a possibility. This particular run of the GFS America model shows snow changing to ice as the day goes on in Atlanta, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Anderson, all the way south toward Columbia. And unfortunately, this would paint the picture of quite a bit of ice. This would continue into Friday night. This would be Friday at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then by daybreak, Saturday morning, most of the precipitation is kind of shifting to this coastal low, wrapping around through Raleigh, Charlotte, whereas by 10 a.m., things are tapering off in the upstate, and it just stays really cold the rest of the day. How about Sunday? We'd be seeing highs in the upper 30s, so a little bit of melting would go underway, but Monday morning would probably still be some impacts from snow and ice. Okay, how about the European model? We've got a little bit of that coming in. I will say that the European is coming in this particular run, very similar in timing to the GFS, just with a weaker low pressure system. The rest of its 51 different model runs of the European do not agree with this most recent one. So if somebody's just looking at this model, your first diagnosis would say, not a big deal. A little bit of rain, a little bit of ice and snow, then it goes on through. Well, the other different runs, or an average of all the different European models, do not support that. So we can scrap this particular run of the European, and I'll show you more in depth. So here we go. Waking up Thursday morning to teens, even below zero, with the ice and snow-covered grounds here toward Kentucky, Indiana, parts of Ohio. It is just nasty, nasty cold. That spreads in and stays with us. And when we wake up on Friday morning, I want to take you to those temperatures, because if it is indeed 32 or 27, 26, we don't stand a chance, because that moisture is coming in and it will keep us cool throughout the day. Notice the models warm us to 35 at the surface in Greenville, but get down to 33 again by midday. So we would be in it for the long haul with temperatures being that cold. So we're going to have to watch that closely. How much snow does the GFS America model paint? Well, it shows about 2 to 4 inches of snow across the I-85 corridor northbound. Shows a little bit more ice in Spartanburg and in Gaffney through Charlotte, but it's got more snow back here through western North Carolina, western parts of the upstate. basically I-26 westbound. There'd be 2 to 4 inches of snow. And with that, and unfortunately, where it lacks in snow, it picks up on ice. This model shows about 3/10 of an inch to a half an inch of ice. And for perspective, 1/10 of an inch of ice makes things slick on the roads. You get some slick sidewalks, you get some slick overpasses with 1/10 of an inch of ice. 1/4 of an inch of ice makes roads impassable. That's when you start to get power lines and trees to be coated at 1/4 of an inch. You get to a half an inch, that's when widespread power outages are likely, and that's when you get some big time problems. That's my concern here, is a lot of our models are showing back a signal here of big time ice. I know so many of us are weary of this and down trees and power outages following Helene. This time it's about 40 degrees colder though versus when it was post Helene. Let me show you all the different runs of the GFS combined. So is that one run that I just showed you kind of an outlier? Well, no, this is 30 different runs of the GFS. It, however, shows more snow than it does ice. A little bit of ice mixes in, and that's to be understood with a setup like this. Almost always does. Sleet, some freezing rain, and some snow. But the setup is there, and it's got an average of a pretty strong low rolling through. The percentages of this happening and coating the ground have gone up. The GFS model here shows now a 60% chance in the northern part of the upstate, in this yellow color here, of seeing the ground covered in snow or ice. Okay, does that make sense? Up here through the orange to the red, that would be 80 to 90% chance of snow covering the ground. You go here towards southern Greenville, I-85 corridor southbound, that chance is still moderate at 30 to 50% chance of the ground being covered. All right, that's what the GFS model says. And when I look at all the different runs of the GFS, boy, has it trended up. Almost all of our 30, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 runs. So 5 out of 30 do not show snow. The rest of them do, and many of them are 3, 5, 4, 12, 4, 8, 10. Big snow showing up on this model run right here. Let's look specifically at the European, see if that has come in yet. Do we have a new one? We do. Every single run, all of them, folks. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3 out of 50 of the European do not show measurable snow in the GSP. So putting it another way, 47 out of 50 show measurable snow on the ground at GSP. This would be the first of its kind in 3 years, almost to the date. GFS, or I should say the Canadian, roughly right in there with it, with just over half of its models showing it. Here's the GFS ensembles again, looking at it a different way. Here's the Canadian model. Canadian wants to show a lot of ice, unfortunately, quite a bit of ice here. This would be a crippling ice storm on the Canadian model. It is a strong 1,005 low to 1,000 to 997. That sends back a lot of moisture back that way. And what this would lead to would be very little snow on the Canadian model, maybe a half an inch coating the ground with some sleet mixed in. But it would paint the picture of a blockbuster ice. You got 0.8 of an inch of ice from parts of Chester County through Greenwood, southern Greenville County, an inch in metro Atlanta. My goodness, this would be a dire situation. 1.2 inches of ice in Columbia. This would be widespread power outages. Folks, don't want to scare you with this one model. This is what one model shows, but in some form or fashion, almost every single one of our models here want to paint the picture of some sort of snow and ice mixture. I want to show you the probabilities one more time because I think our European model just came in. It has. Let me zoom into the southeast right here. And again, please let me know where you're watching from right here. Doesn't quite get all the way out, so won't be able to show you that. But nonetheless, it does show that chance coming on through. So simply put, it's something we've got to watch here starting in Texas and Oklahoma, Arkansas. Rather high chances of snow and sleet on day 4. That would be Thursday. By Friday, that's spreading into western Carolinas, all of Tennessee, all of North Georgia, and it's possible this moves up through the mid-Atlantic as we go into Saturday and into Sunday. Notice Saturday, if you're looking at Saturday particularly, this is more of a Raleigh-Durham Northeast span. It's really Friday night if you're watching right now. and the upstate of South Carolina through Atlanta and the surrounding areas like that. So simply put, we've got to stay dialed in on this. The key here is this is going to change, and the best advice I can have for you is to stay dialed in. Best way to do that's to go ahead and like this video, stay subscribed to any channel that you're watching from right now on any of our WYFF4 platforms, and subscribe to the notifications. Also in the comment section here, I do go read those. Let me know where you're watching from right now and any kind of questions you may have. Going to target a Facebook Live for you later tonight, maybe a YouTube Live as well, and be able to answer your questions that you may have on this winter storm coming our way. About to throw the tie on and head on into the studios here for the 4, 5, 6 o'clock news. Hope you all have a safe and a blessed week. Targeting Friday night. Could be a very interesting scenario for us across the area. One of the most significant weather or winter weather impacts we've had in as many as 3 years. See you guys.